So I don't really know what's happening exactly, but apparently I am broadcasting live now. Fingers crossed that is the case. It is the 25th of May 2023, which means it's publication day for that book, The One That Got Away, which is out today, the first D.I. Heather Filson book. I almost called her D.C.I. Heather Filson, but she's not that. D.I. Heather Filson. It's just a quick little thing. I'm going to be just talking a little bit about the book, and more importantly, as I mentioned on social media, I'm going to be tasting ice cream flavored Iron Brew for the first time. I did not know it was a thing until recently. My wife found these, and the only slight issue is it's been in my office fridge, and my office fridge kind of malfunctions a bit. It just freezes everything you put in it. So maybe it's a freezer. But so it could be a block of ice in there, but we'll find out in a minute. So yes, The One That Got Away came out today. That's it here. It is the first D.I. Heather Filson book. It is a book that I'm quite nervous about. I get nervous about most books I put out, really, because I always assume that this is the one when people will realise that I don't know what I'm doing. So that might be the case. Maybe people will read it and go, who is this guy? Why has he been writing all these books? And never read any of my books again. I hope that's not the case. I hope he doesn't kill off everything. But I think it's quite good. I don't like selling my own books. That's the issue with these live launch things. I don't like going, hey, this book's great. Because I don't feel comfortable doing that. I just say, yeah, it's out. If you like that sort of thing, go and give it a try. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to ask me in the comments. They do show up on my screen. So let me just check if this works. So Scott Reed is saying, oh, it's very pink. You're very pink, Scott. Only been out a couple of weeks, I think. Limited edition flavors just for summer. So yeah, there's this one and there's a tropical one. And I don't have the tropical one, but I have the ice cream one. So we're going to give it a go. Some people, it seems, have already started reading The One That Got Away, which is nice. And there is a review of it up, I noticed, and it's a 5-star review. So that's relief. Some people I know have read it, some authors, and they've given me little quotes for it. I will share, I can't share it on here annoyingly, but I'll share the one that David J. Gatward gave me for it. I've shared a few already. I'll share that one on Facebook later on and on Twitter. Yeah, I won't say any more about that at the moment. I think he's tuning in here to watch. He's very excited because he just got new internet and it works, unlike his old internet. So that's good. Looking forward to the book, but not the Iron Brew. Oh, come on, Katie. There's nothing wrong with ice cream. Well, let's find out. Let's crack on with this, and then we'll do some questions. So it smells like ice. It smells ice creamy, and a bit Iron Brewy. So it does what it says on the tin, literally. Let's see. Oh! I don't know what I think of that. It's a thing. Like, it definitely tastes like ice cream. It tastes almost too much like ice cream, like unsettlingly like ice cream. You know when you encounter something in a form it's not supposed to be, like if you had, crisps that tasted exactly of chocolate or something, you kind of go, oh, there's something in your brain is going, this doesn't compute right. It's a bit like that. It's a bit like is like a sort of liquidy ice cream, but with a hint of Iron Brew, like an Iron Brew float. But no, I don't know. I couldn't drink much of it, I'll be honest. But it's interesting. I'll give it that much. That's probably not a glowing recommendation, but it's definitely interesting. But I'm going back for more, so. No, I think that's me done. It's it's pretty full on. But if you like ice cream, you like Iron Brew, and you don't mind your brain being fried with a combination of the two, you might enjoy it. Anyway, let's get on to looking at some of the questions and things and comments that have come in. Who's this from? Liz Baker. I think the reason us hardcore Logan fans had with Heather, so I think the reason you disliked Heather, the issue you had with Heather, was that she tried to come between Jack and Shona. I'm looking forward to getting to know her as a person and not just a troublemaker, if that makes sense. It does make sense, yes. She kind of, I brought her into the series because I can never let my characters get too comfortable. That's the thing. And no one likes reading about characters that are just comfortable and happy all the time anyway. So I wanted to, that sense of jeopardy needs to be in there somehow. And I thought in this instance, the sense of jeopardy is going to be, is she going to jeopardize their relationship? And so that's where she came from. But then in doing that, I thought she's potentially interesting. So I'll explore that a bit further. I like setting challenges for myself. Like everyone hated Hoon. Well, not everyone, but I'd say 50% of people hated Hoon. And now only 40% of people hate Hoon. So that was a success. Nicola Vickers was worried about missing the voice of Angus, but Kathleen's narration is great. Yes, it is a female narrator for these books because it is a female-led character. Angus's suggestion, I should say. Is smelling iron brew a bit like smelling candles? Asked Mike Harding. Nah, smelling candles is more fraught with danger because I always kind of set my nasal hair on fire when I smell candles, which is part of the appeal as far as I'm concerned. I don't quite understand this one. What's in? So I've read most of your local series and love it. Also the 2 Hoon books. There are 4 Hoon books, Sue. So you're too short. How do you get away with dying horrible but really funny things about famous people? Saying, it must be a typo, saying horrible, really funny things about famous people. Because none of them have sued me yet. It's all just opinion. You know, like the Cliff Richard bit. There's a rant that Hoon goes on about Cliff Richard. It doesn't make any claims about Cliff Richard as being anything that he's not. It just sort of says he's got a turkey neck and Hoon doesn't like his singing, but Berta does, so he's defended. So I think if I was saying anything genuinely that might get me into legal trouble about a character or about a person, a famous person, I would make up that famous person. But Cliff does have a neck like a turkey, so I'll stand up and defend that in court if it comes to it. I think Hoon calls my human fucking cardigan my neck like an old pair of tights. Is that it? Something like that. Which is all true. So, you can't do anything about it. As I've said before a couple of times, I'm slightly worried about the new book, the one that got away. And that there's a character who's inspired, or a character who assumes a persona that is inspired by a Disney character. And I'm slightly worried that might get me in trouble. But yeah, it's the character in question, I will say, is Minnie Mouse. And I'm going to Disney World with my family in October, and we'll need to look Minnie Mouse in the eye. So yeah. Lynn Campbell, chocolate flavored crisps, I give them a go. They actually did ice cream flavored Monster Munch years ago. There's an ice cream flavor. I'm going back for more of this. They did ice cream flavored Monster Munch. Wasn't very nice. Much like that. And yet addictive. Here we go. Dwayne is asking, when did you first come up with the idea for the Filson story? I'm not quite sure really where her story. I was talking to Dave Gatward about this earlier, and I think we both do the same sort of thing. We have characters that we're interested in. So we have them and go, okay, what would be an interesting situation to put them in to reveal a bit more about those characters, rather than going, that's an exciting plot, who will the characters be? So I had Heather's character already figured out. And I thought, why is she such a bitch? Why is she the way she is? What has happened to her in her life? And there's some reference to that in the Logan series. And I thought, but what drives her, makes her behave the way she does? And part of that, I think, is just being a woman in the police, which is quite a male-dominated thing, especially stories we've seen coming out about sexism and bullying in the Met and things. So part of it is being a woman, a high-ranking female officer within the police, and the shit she has to put up with as a result of that. And part of it, the majority of it, is about things that have happened in her past. And I get to explore that a bit in this book, which was nice. The other thing I liked about this book was that there are some cameos from characters who've appeared in the Logan series. There's one character who had a very small part in one of the Logan books, has a much bigger part in this one. And it was nice to not have all the sort of baggage of having to give all the Logan characters their own story. I was able to kind of go, okay, this is Heather's story, and I can follow her, and there's new characters I'm introducing, so I don't have to have all their sort of baggage that comes with them. So it was nice to have that kind of just new, and it was it's a different area it's set in. It's not set in the Highlands, it's set down in Kilmarnock and Glasgow and stuff, and around about those sort of areas. So it was just nice to have a fresh sort of slate. So I enjoyed doing that. But I then found myself, I was missing the Logan team, so I was really pleased to come back and write some more of them. So the next Logan book is written as well. So that's done. Did that even answer the question? I don't know. Angie Brown on YouTube. I love Heather. She's my spirit animal. Can't wait to go on an adventure with her. Excellent stuff. A rare Filson fan. I don't know why everyone hated her. Like, people were really, really anti-Heather. More anti-Heather than they were anti-Hoon. Because Hoon had a lot of love, and very few people loved Heather. But we'll see what happens once you've read the book, and hopefully that's going to change. Margaret Ellis, I love Hoon. Will there be any more? 4 was going to be the limit, or 3 was going to be the limit originally. Then I did a 4th. And I thought, oh, that's it done, because I've covered north, south, east, and west. And I was convinced there weren't going to be any more Hoon books. And now I'm thinking, I had an idea for one, which is called Stateside, and it takes Hoon to the United States. And I think there's a lot of fun to be had in that premise. When the last book came out, and this is part of the reason why I wrote the one that got away as well. When the last Hoon book came out, Eastgate, I got, because some of the villains in it, this isn't a spoiler, this is established very early on. Some of the villains in it are incels. So they are sort of entitled young men who are angry that women won't sleep with them. Essentially, is my understanding of what an incel is. I got an email from a reader in America saying, like, absolutely furious that the villains in that book were white men. Because I can't believe, once again, white men are the villains, and I'm never reading any of your books again. And I thought, great, off you fuck. And also pointed out that all the heroes in the book are also white men. So I had nothing in particular against white men in it. It was just that particular subset of white men that were the issue. But that sort of, I then sort of thought, no, I want to write a strong female character who would not put up with that shit. Like, is that, what do you call him? Andrew Tate is massive just now. He was in the news and everything, and a part of big influencer of young men. And I thought, I'd like to see him, with Berta Hoon, for example, how he managed to get away with his shit if he was in a room with her. So yeah, I wanted to do a strong female character. Heather was the obvious choice, even though everyone wants me to do a Shona Maguire spin-off. I think that would take far more research, because it'd be difficult to make it her story and not drag the rest of the team in. So Heather was a separate thing entirely, which was nice. But in answer to the question, yes, there may be more Hoon. Hoon is a lovable rogue. How can you not like him? I know some people don't. I do not get it. Hoon and Bert make me snort. So I absolutely loved Hoon for the minute I met him. Your god dog's middle name is Robert Hoon. Yes, I have a god dog. I'm the godfather to a dog, not a dog who is a god, as far as I'm aware. But the dog's full name is DC Tyler Robert Hood Niche. Because the dog's actual name is DC Tyler Niche. So DC Tyler Robert Hood Niche. That's quite a mouthful. Don't know how he's shouting that when it runs off at the park. Let's see what else we've got. Dave, I thought that character was fine. That's Dave Gatward, author of the DCI Grimm series. The character is the Minnie Mouse inspired one, I'm guessing. So yeah, because if he thinks it's all right, yeah, then I'm really worried if he thinks it's okay. When I need to be firm at work, I channel Logan without the swearing. Logan actually swears a lot less than he used to. I've noticed. I think once I'd started in the Hoon series, because the earlier books, Logan swears quite a bit, and now he's far less likely to swear because it was like I can't have everyone just swearing all the time, and Hoon was making up for the amount of swearing. So he doesn't swear that much now. He just sort of looms a lot. Good grief. Android will start a book at 2 a.m. I'm loving it so far. Why are we up at 2 a.m. to start a book? I've often read until 2 a.m., but I've never started one at 2 a.m. So I hope you're fine. I hope there's nothing, causing you to lose sleep. I'm going back for this again. Oh, there we go. Sue, thanks for that point. I will look for the 2 Hoon I've missed. Do. Because so they're Northwind, Southpaw, Westward, and Eastgate. That's the 4. Currently on chapter 5, says Angela. I take it that's the new book. So far, so great. Oh, you. Yeah, it was I think this one is probably the best story I've done. Certainly, like plot-wise, it's probably the best sort of crime thriller thing. It's more like the Logan books are police procedural. Well, they're kind of soap opera with police elements in it. Hoon was sort of action thriller, comedy, sort of action movie type stuff. There's probably a better way of describing it than that. And Heather's books are sort of the sort of police procedure, but sort of head into psychological thriller a bit. So they're slightly different. Because if it was if it was similar to the Logan books, or if it was the same, I would just give the story to Logan. It had to be a different thing to justify a new series with a new character. It couldn't just be another murder investigation, because then I could have just set it in the Highlands and Logan could have done it and all that stuff. So it is different. All 3 series are a bit different to each other. That's the plan anyway. Donna, would love to see you at Granite Noir next year up in Aberdeen. Is it something you would be keen to do? Yeah, I'm quite happy to do any of these things. I'm doing it's not been announced officially, but I'm doing a certain crime festival in Stirling this year, and then I'm going to Iceland Noir, and I'm doing a few other festivals. I'm doing one in Butte and one in Nairn sort of area, doing that. So my family, for the Iceland one, my family went, well, we're all coming, obviously. For the Nairn one, not so excited. So, yeah, funny that. But yes, I'd be happy to go to Granite Noir if someone would invite me. Mark Quinn, when did you think about setting it in Killie, my hometown? So yes, the book is set in Kilmarnock. I don't know why I chose Kilmarnock. I've been to Kilmarnock quite a few times. When I was doing kids' books, I went down to, did a lot of kind of schools down there and the library down there, and my wife is originally from Beath, which is kind of in that sort of neck of the woods, and so I know the area reasonably well, and yeah, I didn't want to just set it in Glasgow. Some of it happens in Glasgow, but I didn't want to go, here's another crime in series in Glasgow. So Yeah, she lives down there. Yeah, so that no real reason other than I knew it enough that I could write about it, because as I think I've established before, I'm naturally quite lazy at doing research. So I thought, where else do I know that I don't have to research too much? And Kilmarnock it was. And I'm now out of places that I can do. Although I did live in Aberdeen for a while. But I think Stuart McBride's got Aberdeen sewn up. Oh, here we go. Nancy Kirkwood. Love the Logan books. Hoon is amazing. Loving Heather so far. Oh, even liked her in the Logan books. That's rare. She's quite misunderstood. I agree. Will there be another Sidekicks book? Funniest book I've ever read. So the Sidekicks, there's a book called the Sidekicks Initiative. I wrote under my own name, Barry J. Hutchison. And it's about like a team of superheroes, like the Justice League, who all get killed off. And the government kind of drags their retired sidekicks out of retirement to save the world, basically. So it's it was just a book that I've written I liked the idea of, and I wrote it a few years ago, and it did quite well. And there's currently film interest and all that stuff. And there is a second book which is like about halfway written, which I need to finish off. But everything else kind of gets in the way. So yes, there will be another one. It is half done. I know what happens in it, and I will finish it at some point. It's called The Sidekicks Resurgence, is what it's called. So yeah, there we go. What else? Happy book birthday, says Marianne. Thank you. Angela Holtz. Heather was trying to get between Logan and Shona. That's what I didn't like. Yeah, people didn't like that. People hate strong women. Yeah, although Berta Hoon seems to get off with it. For some reason everyone loves Berta, and she's the strongest woman I know, even though I've made her up. Please do stateside for more Hoon, says Yvonne. Wow, Hoon in the US, people like that. Send Hoon to the Southern Bible Belt, could be interesting. Someone says, Marianne says, no, keep Hoon in the UK. He's done the UK though. I want to put him somewhere weird. So yeah. Is this the full name for the dog, Liz? Detective Constable Tyler Neat Robert Hoon Sausage. That's madness. There's a descent into madness happening here that we're seeing. But as long as you're happy, that's what counts. The book the world needs. Logan and Hoon go camping and get drawn into a case, and the whole book is them having to work together. Yeah, I do like when Logan and Hoon are teamed up together. I can't imagine them going camping together. I can't imagine what world where Logan would agree to go camping with Hoon. Yeah. This gets better the more you drink of it. Oh, no, it doesn't. Lisa North. Which book was the most difficult to write? Don't really know. I think so. The first Logan book was difficult because I didn't know anything about writing crime fiction. I still don't, some would argue. But I didn't know anything about it, and I thought, I'm going to have to do loads of research on this and learn how police investigations work. And then I thought, but are police investigations that interesting? Probably not. So I'll just make it up. So I sort of learned the real basics. And then I just sort of wrote a story about a bunch of characters who in some way or another are all sort of misfits, and them sort of coming together as a little family, which is basically every book I write is that, essentially. But the first one was difficult, and more the thought of it was difficult than actually the writing of it. The thought of doing it was the tricky bit. Gillian Campbell asking, how's Iron Brew? It's my problem is it's Iron Brew Extra. It's not the full sugar, full fat Iron Brew. It's Iron Brew Extra. which is usually okay, which is usually what I drink because I don't. But this tastes really saccharine-y, like I taste really sort of afterwards. Yeah, don't know. Nicola Vickers, I'd love to know how Olivia is getting on. Olivia Maximuk, daughter of the Russian gangster Bosco Maximuk. Love her relationship with Shona. Okay. Um, all I will say on that is look out for In Service of Death, the 17th DCI Logan book, which comes out in July 25th, I think, 28th, 25th. 2 months. 2 months from today, July 25th. You will find out more then. But yeah, Olivia may make an appearance in that book. Because I like Olivia as well. She was another one of these characters that was only going to be in it, or wasn't even going to be in it. Like early on in the series, I think like book 2, I think Logan goes and meets this dodgy geezer, Bosco Maximuk, who he knew from down the road in Glasgow. And Bosco's daughter is sitting in the office doing her homework. And the only reason she was there was like it just added an extra layer of tension of there's this child there and maybe neither man can necessarily say what they actually want to say to each other with this child in the room. And so that was it. That was all she existed for, was to be this little sort of additional bit of tension between them. And then I just found her quite interesting, and she sort of grew from there and then played quite a big part in some of the books. And has disappeared for a little while. And she's actually encountered Heather as well, which was quite a nice little moment in whatever book they were in together. City of Scars, I think. There's a little moment between them, which is quite nice. And so she will be coming back soon. In the next book, in fact. Donald Gillis, who I know, saying, is off you fuck just a cool saying? So cool is where I grew up. Don't know. I'd imagine it goes beyond that. Off you fuck. I'd imagine that's a thing. Maybe not. Maybe it is just us. Mark Quinn, Butte, when? August, start of August, something like that. I will know more soon. But start of August, I think. Like I'm thinking the 6th. I feel like I'm sort of channeling like I'm like a spiritualist going, that's how my memory works. It's like channeling the dead. It's like kind of going, I'm getting a number between 5 and 7. So I think the 6th of August. But I could be wrong, Mark. As soon as I know more, I will put it on my website and all that stuff. Sheila Reeves, currently ploughing my way through the most recent rebus, which I have to finish before I can start on Heather. I'm sure it's not the trudge you make it sound. Ian's books are very good. I'm sure you're thoroughly enjoying it. But if you're not, don't feel obliged to finish reading it. Just chuck it away. Don't chuck it away, that's wasteful, but just don't read it. Come back to it later if you're not happy with it. It's fine. It'll always be there. That's what I do now. I used to always kind of push through and read books that I didn't like. It's like, no, I won't read this book. And now I don't, because I've realized there's lots of good books I do want to read, and I don't. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Am I still here? I seem to disappear for a second. Hopefully I'm still here. I'm going to finish up soon anyway. That we're into half an hour. Sue Morris, I like Sue's comment. I've just had a really funny thought. Excellent, well done. Hope you enjoyed that. Becky Wells, will you be doing any more Hoon merch? Yeah, we did some charity merchandise over sort of Christmas and stuff last year. The 3 months of you could buy different merchandise. Some of it was Hoon themed, some of it was Logan, there was a Ben Ford coat and stuff. And all the money went to a local charity, went to Star for Harris, which was a charity set up by some friends of mine after their son passed away. So yeah, we will be doing some more on that fairly soon, in fact. Is there going to be a TV series for Logan or Hoon? Don't know, Anne Marie. There's one of these things. There's always lots of interest, and none of it is yet to really firm up and go anywhere. But who knows? There's quite a surprising amount of interest in the one that got away in the new book. I think a lot of TV executives want a strong female-led crime series. So it would be ironic if Heather went to TV before anyone else. But we'll see. Gillian Campbell, who would you personally like to cast as DCI Logan if ever it was to be cast on TV? It would be Kevin McKidd, the Scottish actor. I think I've said that before somewhere. He showed up, because I said a while ago saying I want him, and he showed up on some crime series recently. I can't remember what it's called. And loads of people emailed me saying that guy on that would be great for Logan. And I went, yeah, no. I've said it before. So yeah, and Graham McTavish for Hoon. Joseph Alexander, what's your favourite Hoon swear? I don't know. I can't remember them. See, I'm terrible. I don't remember anything that happens in the books. Jeb End was a big one for a while, but I don't remember. I don't really know where they come from. There's somewhere at the back of my head which is entirely dedicated to making up Hoon's insults. So I don't know what my favourite one is. I am determined to put out a little book of Hoon quotes. I'm actually doing at the moment. I'm working on a Hoon colouring book where you can colour in Hoon quotes, like Hoon swears and stuff. So I'm going to do that, and you'll be able to colour in your favourite Hoonism. But I can't even think of any off the top of my head, let alone what my favourite is. Let's see. Right, here we go. Jesse Unwin. Do you think that Logan would break the rules like Hoon does in his series? Yeah, Hoon ignores the rules. Hoon is the rules. I don't know what that means. If they're both put in a situation together, one that Hoon would usually find himself in. I wonder if Logan has a darker side to him. Yeah, he does. There's certainly an implication that he has broken the rules in the past. And I think he breaks the rules, or certainly bends the rules fairly consistently in his own series. And I do think that if pushed to it, he would shatter the rules completely. Yeah. So yes, I think Logan definitely does have a darker side. I think everyone that has probably dealt with the sort of people that these guys have to deal with on a regular basis probably they've all got that a bit, I think. Okay, it's an interesting one. Sarah, I spent a lot of my childhood visiting my uncle up in the Outer Hebrides and love your books. I recently, this week in fact, got invited to the Outer Hebrides Comic-Con, which would have been amazing, but I'm in America at the time when it's on, so I can't go. So that would have been fab. The characters are exactly the type of people I met up in the Highlands. If you had to go for a beer with one of your characters, who would it be? It's probably got to be Hoon, just to see what happens. Like, just almost to be an observer. Like, I don't think I'd like to be friends with Hoon. I mean, I'd like to be friends with him more than I'd like to be enemies with him. But I think it'd be interesting, because I think Logan I could go and have a beer with and it would be fine, if a bit awkward. But Hoon would just be fascinating to watch, and I'd want to take him somewhere and get him like get really drunk. I'd be like tipping my drinks out, pouring them up my sleeve or something, and just watch him in action and see what happened, and see if we survive the night. So I think that would be fun. And maybe Tyler as well. Just he could sit in the corner and have a Coke. If I ever feel fed up, I listen to Jack talking to the school kids in The Last Bloody Straw. I've listened to it so many times that it still makes me cry with laughter. Well, that's lovely to hear, Liz. Thank you for that. Yeah. In The Last Bloody Straw, they're on a small island just off the west coast of Scotland, Canna, and the kids in the school, primary school, are worried because there's been a murder, and Logan, I think this is right anyway. Logan gets kind of asked to speak to them and reassure them, and it all goes terribly wrong. Like it doesn't go as planned, and that's actually based on, because I did loads of school events when I was a kids author. I spoke at lots of schools, and I remember the series I was talking about, or the only kids' books I had out at that point, was a horror series called Invisible Fiends. And it's about a boy whose imaginary friend from when he's 4 comes back when he's 12 and tries to murder him in a variety of horrible ways. And I got some schools that were smaller would go, oh, we've got, because I usually talk to kids in that age sort of 9 to 11. So it was the sort of upper end of primary school. And sometimes smaller schools would go, we've brought the little ones in as well. They're just going to sit there and they're not going to say anything. And sometimes midway through, I'm talking about it, I'm kind of going, I don't know if it's a good idea because these are quite scary. And they go, oh, they'll be fine. And midway through, sometimes children would just burst into tears. I'd be reading a bit, and I had one girl pass out, which was quite fun. Not for her, but it was fun for me. And yeah, some of them would burst into tears and have to leave. And it was, and that sort of inspired that scene of the chaos of talking to a group of young children about something that they're just not ready for, So that's where that was inspired by. And later on, at the other end of that, I think in one of the books, I think maybe Ahead of the Game. Again, I'm channeling this from somewhere. Tyler has to talk at a high school, and that also happened to me. It was that thing of, in Scotland, high school is first year, second year, third year, which I think is about year 8, 9, 10, thereabouts. And Tyler's to go and talk to them, and I sometimes go in and talk to that sort of third year age group. And first year are great because they're like, hey, we're really excited. And second year are like, we're kind of paying attention. And third year are just like, we want you dead. If you open your mouth, we're going to kill you. And they just sit and stare at you the entire time. So I wanted to subject Tyler to that because I thought Logan could deal with that fine, but poor Tyler couldn't. So I stopped Tyler in that situation. So yeah. Janice, any plans to launch the next Logan book in Fort William? Yeah, I'll probably do some sort of book launch. I'm also doing for the next Logan book in July, I'm doing an event, I think the 18th of July, in a Waterstones near Glasgow, Newton Mearns, just outside Glasgow. So I'll be there on the 18th, but I'll put all this up on my website. Yeah. Let me see, what else have we got? Any more hymn books? Just hang on a minute. David J. Gatward. Just an idea, but you should do a podcast. Yeah. Do you know? So Dave and Alex Smith and I've spoken about doing a podcast for about 3 years now. We keep going, yeah, we should definitely do a podcast. Like, sometimes we get dangerously close to it. And then it just hasn't happened. But it's a good idea, Dave. We should take that on board. Kick it around the park a bit, see what we come up with. Marion Smith, don't let them ever cast non-Scots as Scottish people. They can't do it. I think probably some of them can, but I know when I did auditions for the narrator for the DCI Logan books, I got a lot of Americans and I got a lot of English narrators who were putting on Scottish accents, and it was offensive. It was that level of bad. It was actually racist. That's how bad it was. It was proper racist. So yeah, it is difficult. I'm sure there are some very talented actors who you would never know were not Scottish. But if it was up to me, the cast would be Scottish, yeah. Do you remember the ginger hair guy from Taggart? I think he would be good as Tyler. I think he's probably like 70 now. I don't know how old he is. Taggart was quite a while ago. So unless we're plucking him from the time stream, I don't think he'd still be suitable. You need Hoon quote fridge magnets. Good idea. Good idea. Let's see. Okay. Is Moira going to be the next book a bit more? Love the Ben and Moira relationship. Makes me laugh out loud. So yeah, Moira, who works in Fort William Police Station, is a bit of a dragon. Coincidentally, also my mother-in-law's name, but that is, I promise, a coincidence. And her surname is my aunt, Auntie Jessie, is sadly no longer with us. I'm not saying that combining those two people together would result in the monster that is Moira Corson. I'm definitely not saying that. Some people might, not me. Both are genuinely lovely. So yeah, but there are elements of them in Moira, but neither one is anything like her in reality. I hope that's got me out of the hole that I started digging for myself midway through that response. Is she's going to be in the next book? Yep, she's going to be in book 17, and I would say she plays a key role in that book. So I will say that. Where are we now? I'd love you all to do a podcast. There we go, Dave. Becky likes the podcast. That's one subscriber sorted. Angus is fantastic. Yes, he is. Angus King. So I met Angus for the first time recently. We'd never met in person. I don't think we'd even really spoken like on the phone. We'd just messaged and emailed and stuff. So I met him recently. We went for food, and it was lovely to meet him. He's a top guy and insanely talented. And I hear the characters when I'm writing them in his voice now, like in the voices he does from not all in his own normal voice, because that'd be weird. Richard, would love you guys to do a podcast. That's two, Dave. Apparently, people are telling me the captions auto-generated on Facebook are very good, or very bad, I think is the impression I'm getting, but entertaining. There's a spoiler there I'm not going to reveal, but it's why did I kill off a certain character? Just cause. Just seemed like the right thing to do, because it is a dangerous job, and that character wasn't actually going to die until it happened, basically, until that paragraph. There was no plans to kill that character off, and then while I was writing it, I went, oh, this character now has to die. That's the only way this makes sense. So yeah, there we go. The Impropaganda department is saying, my introduction to you was Hoon books. I always think that's quite weird. Like, I like that happens, but I always assumed the Hoon books were like, it was going to be like, here's a thing that for Logan readers, here's a new thing you can do, and then but lots of people have read Hoon first, and then I've gone back. So any chance of a more joint Hoon Logan novel, especially including Berta? Hoon is popping up in the Logan books just now, and everything's possible. That's all I'll say. So there we go. So we've got 4 subscribers now, Dave, which is nice. So yeah, and then Richard Lee just said Space Team. If in case you don't know, before I started doing crime fiction, I wrote comedy science fiction. I wrote the Space Team books, which are somewhere probably behind me. There's one. But it's jammed. It's so jammed in. There we go. It's a hardback, a rare hardback edition of the first Space Team book. I wrote this series, and there are 12 books. 12 books in that series, and then a 3-book spin-off series called Dan Deadman Space Detective. And it's actually, I've realized that it's very similar to the Logan series, it's about a group of people coming together, and it's their relationships and their interactions and all that stuff where all the comedy comes from. And they just happen to be in space, and the Logan guys just happen to be in a police station in the Highlands. But otherwise, they're very similar. Obviously, their day-to-day lives are quite different, but otherwise, the series are quite similar. It's them doing this team of people doing different things and getting to know each other better, and how their lives develop and all that stuff. So, if you like the Logan books, chances are you will enjoy Space Team. And if enough people read Space Team, then I will write another one. Because I really want to write another one. It's very difficult to get there's a huge demand right now for the Logan books, which is amazing. But it still blows me away that people want to read them. And I think like whenever a new book comes out, so a new Logan book, when that comes out, it will outsell the entire Space Team series, which has been out since 2016, within like a day. Like it's that level of difference in sales. So it's quite hard for me to justify to go, while I have one child in university and one in high school who will hope to go to university, to justify going, well, I will write this book, which I would love writing, and put it out, and it will sell, 0.5% of a Logan book, which I also love writing and could put out. So yeah, I want to do more. I will definitely do a 13th book because I have it all planned out. I know what happens in it. As much as I plan any of the Space Team books, generally I know the direction I'm aiming, and then I end up there eventually. But I do plan doing it. All the President's Spacemen, Space Team 13, and but right now the focus is still on the crime fiction stuff. Sorry, Richard. Lots of people saying, let's go read Space Team. So yeah, I recommend that. Does Kyle Police Station really keep a Hoover stored in the cells? Probably. I don't know. Never been. But I've certainly never been arrested by them. But it feels like that sort of place, as most places in the Highlands do. That's not a criticism, by the way. That's not me saying, oh, little small places are rubbish. Far from it. I think, we should keep Hoovers in the cells. When I did a tour of the Orkney Islands a few years ago, I was doing some book stuff for the Scottish Book Trust, and there's a little flight you do between these two small islands, like Westray and Papa Westray. It's the shortest flight in the world. You're in the air for 1 minute and then you land. So did that, and there was supposed to be a taxi waiting to take me from the airport to the school, so I could go and do this talk and then catch the next flight, or catch the boat, or whatever I was doing next. I can't remember. So I got there, no taxi to be seen. The only person that was at the airport, and when I say airport, it's like a small, very small runway in a hut. And I said, he had like a fireman sort of boiler suit, overall stuff on, and he was ready to wave the plane off and all that stuff. Like in an official capacity. He wasn't just waving it off. He was sort of directing it to leave. So I said to him, there's supposed to be a taxi. Any idea how I get in touch with them? And he said, give me a minute. I'll just make sure the plane doesn't explode, was his exact words. And then I'll be right with you. So I waited for him. He made sure the plane didn't explode. It flew away. He then came back. He took off his boiler suit and then said, right, jump in. And his car was around the corner, and he was a taxi driver, and he was taking me from. So he was the fireman sort of safety guy at the airport, and he was a taxi driver. He drove me to the school, and then kind of parked up. And I says, well, what happened? Will you come back for me? And he says, oh no, I work here. And he came out, and he was the janitor in the school as well. So that's the sort of stuff I love about the Highlands. Nowhere else really in the UK certainly does that really happen. Yeah, I think he worked in the shop too. But they also, I flew on that same sort of tour. I went out and went to the Isle of Barra, kind of out in the west coast. And you land on the beach there. You fly and land on the beach. And when I was coming back, I had to go through security at Barra Airport. And Barra Airport doesn't even have the runway. It's just a beach. And it has a little shed. And I went in, and the security guy was, I'd say, about 80. and he had this enormous white beard. And he looked me in the eye and says, "Now, do you have anything dangerous in your bag?" And I said, "No." And he went, "On you go." And that was it. That was the security check, which was amazing. So chances are that Kyle Localsh police station does keep a Hoover in the cells. So I think that will be a good place to finish up. We're almost at 1 o'clock, and I want you guys to stop listening to me and go and read The One That Got Away, or listen to it if you prefer. Your call. I don't mind. And let me know what you think. I'm really keen to hear what you think of this book. I've been very excited about hearing people's thoughts on this book. And I hope that you will all contribute to my legal fund if Disney decides to take action. I'm hoping they don't. But thank you all very much. See you all on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And yeah, and let's do this again soon. I've had a lovely time. Thank you all for your questions. I would give it 3 out of 10 as my final score, because I've not normally a Can-Am Brew I'd have just scoofed a lot in seconds, but I'm struggling with this one. Oh, it's awful when it's flat. Good God. No. Right. Thank you very much, and bye for now.